The struggle for control is the dominating force in Shakespeare's Sonnet 151. The poet suggests that when a new love begins to grow, a new conscience begins to grow along with it. This leads to an eventual battle of wills between the more abstract spiritual and emotional feelings of love and the physical responses that are aroused by passion. The sonnet begins with the speaker discussing love in terms of being too young to know what conscience is. Describing love as too young and giving the emotion a conscience by asking if it is born of love personifies these two aspects of love, the emotional and the physical, and sets up the conflict that is to come. The descriptive term young can be interpreted as new or fresh, but also as innocent. And with innocence comes an association with trust and being blameless. Love starts out as a mutual or shared bond, selfless and secure. Line 2, however, suggests that feelings of love give rise to a conscience and awareness of self. But which of these personified senses, the emotional, the physical, or both, has developed this awareness? Self-awareness implies selfishness, and with the birth of conscience comes the sense that the shared bond and the innocence of love is beginning to disintegrate. Loss of innocence also signifies guilt, and along with guilt comes blame. In lines 3 and 4, then, gentle cheater, urge not my amiss, lest guilty of my faults thy sweet self prove, the speaker is issuing a warning. He is becoming aware of the separation between his physical and his emotional senses, and the use of the phrase urge not can be interpreted as don't tempt me, because my head can't be held responsible for my body. The second quatrain clarifies the faults that the speaker refers to in line 4, describing the internal conflict that has begun to take place. In line 5, in which he states, "For thou betraying me, I do betray," he lays the blame for his gross body's treason squarely at the feet of his partner for tempting him beyond his ability to resist, beyond his mental capacity to control his physical responses. This quatrain evokes an image of the conscience as it struggles to control the body, a tug of war pitting the nobler part, his moral, decent nature, against his passion and lust, the gross body's treason, as it wants to react without restraint to temptation. In lines 7 and 8, the speaker's nobler moral self, his soul, argues with his body in an attempt to convince himself that by resisting the baser, less noble physical feelings of desire, those that cannot be controlled or reasoned with, he will triumph in love and his soul will profit from his self-restraint. This is the speaker's quandary, as he is torn between body and soul. Do I follow my conscience and triumph in love by resisting temptation, or do I allow my body to rule my soul, to let the flesh, which has developed its own separate and independent conscience, and which doesn't wait for a reason, react on its own? So it appears, as the third quatrain begins, that the body has in fact triumphed over the soul. However, the speaker concedes that by surrendering to the physical reactions of his passion and rising at thy name, he has won the real prize. The pleasures of the flesh supersede the nurturing of the soul. So proud of this pride is he, so satisfied is he, that he willingly submits to further temptation, further betrayal, and further triumphs. Satisfied both emotionally and sexually, he is contented thy poor drudge to be, because he knows that by submitting to desire, his body is guaranteed more pleasure. But that doesn't mean that he can't have both. The prize for the speaker is that he can submit to his baser instincts. But fortunately for him, it is his lover that arouses those instincts in him. Shakespeare uses words like stand, and fall, to suggest the physical effects of desire and to evoke images of lovers both in the throes of passion and falling apart, exhausted and fulfilled. The final couplet of Sonnet 151 admits surrender, but not defeat. The speaker has surrendered to his physical desires over his moral sensibilities, denying his soul in favor of his body. However, he doesn't consider this a failure. In lines 13 and 14, he concludes that no want or lack of conscience allows him to reconnect the two, the heart and the flesh. And in the final line, Shakespeare actually redefines love. So by enclosing the word love in quotes, I call her love, for whose dear love I rise and fall, the speaker refers back to line 4, suggesting that his lover may prove to be guilty of his faults, but his physical response to her is actual proof of his love. The conflict that evolves throughout the sonnet reaches a final resolution in that what was once innocent love has been trumped by the uncontrollable responses and pleasures of passionate love.